Hello YouTube, in this RedGamingTech.com video I'm going to be taking a look at just what I was saying I was going to be doing for the next couple of days, and that is looking at the deals and packs that are somewhat lesser known, or maybe even quite well known, but people aren't really buying, or just, you know, kind of going through the good deals, in my personal opinion, of course. This is going to be somewhat of an all over the place, and obviously some of the packs might not appeal to your particular tastes. So I'm going to be going through these, and hopefully you guys can pick up and bag yourself a relatively good deal. So, with no particular order, I'm not going to be doing this in any particular order at all, so don't, think the first or the last is the most important. It's just whatever order I happen to remember them or find them in. So, let's start, shall we? This one I'm pretty sure most of you might have seen, but you might have not given it the attention it deserves, and that is the Sega Hit Collection. It's 89% off, which is pretty damn insane. That means you're actually saving 164 British pounds. Unsure what that is in dollars, but let's just say it's a lot. That means the total cost of the bundle is £35 rather than almost 200, which is, to say at least, a significant saving. Now, you might be put off immediately by looking at the fact that it has a lot of Genesis titles in here. That might put you off, but there are actually a few really good titles. Now, if you're into retro, it kind of speaks for itself that this is a very, very good deal. You get pretty much all the Streets of Rage, Golden Axes, and some other really good games, might I add, such as Beyond Oasis. But even ignoring those, you also get Sonic Generations, which is, to be honest, probably the best modern Sonic game in, well, probably the best Sonic game in recent memory, actually. Never mind recent. You also get all the Total War games, and you also get Binary Domain. It's okay. That's the best I can give that one. And you also get Alien vs Predator, which I quite like. It's not the greatest deal ever, unless you're either quite into the Total War, or you are heavily into, of course, retro. If you're into retro, this is definitely a no-brainer deal. It's a very good price, so I would highly recommend the Sega Hits Collection if those are your kind of cups of tea. Next up is a pretty damn good deal, actually, and that is the TwoK Collection. It contains BioShock 2, Borderlands, Duke Nukem Forever, meh, Mafia 2, yay, Sid Meier's Civilization 5, woohoo, Spec Ops, The Line, and The Darkness 2. Now, the last two titles in particular are pretty excellent value for this deal. This basically means that Spec Ops The Line normally retails for about 30, and The Darkness is about 20. So, right there, that's the price of the pack. Plus an additional. But the fact you get Borderlands, even though number 2 is coming out at some point. Mafia 2 never really was my thing. I got it for free, actually, funnily enough, with my graphics card back in the day. But, nevertheless, not a terrible title. BioShock 2 did get fairly criticised, actually. It's not as good as the first trip through Rapture, but it's not bad. One of my major criticisms with it is it doesn't really feel like you're playing with a big daddy. It feels like you're playing as just a regular dude, to be honest. However, Spec Ops The Line is very, very good, and The Darkness 2 is very, very good, in my personal opinion. So even if you look at it, you're getting a cheaper version of the Spec Ops and The Darkness 2. Spec Ops is only 10% off, actually, in the sale. The cheapest I've seen it, actually, it was 20. And The Darkness 2, the cheapest I saw it for was 10. So even if you say 10 plus 20, you're still only paying about 9 for the rest of them, which is not the greatest amount of expenditure, really, when you consider all the games you're getting. So the TwoK Collection is pretty good, in my opinion. As I've said, it does have a slight negative in that it's not BioShock 1 included, and it's not Borderlands. And Borderlands is a little bit old now, obviously, with a sequel coming out, but still are not bad at all. I was actually debating on this one. I'm not 100% sure whether to put it in or not, but Square Enix / Idios Interactive do a fairly good deal, 81% off. That is $29.99 for their collection. Now, the reason I was a bit iffy on this one is quite a lot of the games are, to put it mildly, old, but quite a lot of the games are also very good. So this one really depends on if you happen to own them or not. If you happen to own a few of the big ones in the pack, I'd say this one's not worth it. If you don't happen to own those, then it's definitely more so. Deus Ex Game of the Year, that's pretty good. It's old now, obviously. But Deus Ex Human Revolution is included, which is not bad, actually. Although that one is very cheap by itself, including the DLC. However, there is the Hitman's, which is not bad. There is also Deus Ex Invisible War. Not that great compared to the first Deus Ex, and not as good as Human Revolution. It's not the worst game ever, but not as good as the first, and not as good as the third. So, and also it's very cheap anyway, so, yeah. Hitman is a very good game. I believe Blood Money actually is the best one, unless I'm wrong. Just Cause, however, or should I say, Just Cause 2 is not a bad title, actually. It's very fun, although it does typically go on sale by itself for quite cheap. I actually picked it up ridiculously cheap in a previous sale, but you also get all the DLCs as part of this pack. Just Cause is, in my opinion, one of the more fun sandbox type of titles. The fact that, for example, you have a gravity-defying grappling hook, as I've heard it being called on numerous occasions. You also get Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, along with some of the DLC. In fact, I believe all the DLC. Now, I will say that Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light is actually a pretty good title. It wasn't quite as big, actually, as I thought it was going to be in terms of popularity. But you've even got local co-op, which is not exactly often on the PC. It's not regular. I will say it's a very fun puzzle-based title, and it does have some interesting moments on it. One of the recent ones I actually covered on RGT, however, is also in this pack, which is Quantum Conundrum. This is a very good game, and fans of Portal definitely should try it out. I'm extremely surprised this game is not bigger than it was. It was released to fanfare, but nowhere near as big as it was. It's somewhat muted fanfare. And that surprised me because, in my opinion, it's a very, very, very good title. Next up are the Thieves. Thief 1 and Thief 2, along with Deadly Shadows. These are very good titles, once again. However, particularly Thief 1 is very old now. And finalists, or shall I say, pretty much finalists, are the Tomb Raider Collection. Now, I'm not going to bother to mention all the Tomb Raiders. As I was saying, this is not a bad pack at all if you don't own, say, Just Cause, Deus Ex, somehow you've managed to miss Human Revolution, as well as Quantum Conundrum, and possibly one or two other games, such as Lara Croft. If you do own one of those, or two of those games, I'd probably say to avoid this pack. It's probably not really worth the price of admission. I'm going to really quickly talk about the Bethesda Collection, because I know it's probably going to be one of those ones that people are going to comment if I don't cover it. In my opinion, it's not a bad collection, but it has a few problems. Despite the fact it's pretty cheap, it's 68% off, which makes it basically £40 anyway, it does have a few problems. The first of which is all of the Fallouts that are there, New Vegas and so on, are available, and I'm talking about the DLCs, are obviously available so often in sales, most of you are going to probably have picked it up. Also, Skyrim, great price on Skyrim. If you don't own Skyrim, it's not a bad way to go. However, Hunted the Demon's Forge is not the greatest game on earth. It's not the worst game on earth. It's actually a lot better if you have someone else to play with, might I add. Graphically, it's not the worst either, but it's just, the AI is probably one of the big things that stop it from, really shining, in my opinion. It would be a lot better if it kind of had less clunky interface in particular. But Brink is not a bad game at all. Once again, it's not, the best game ever. It's going to be an average one. But I would say this pack is really worth buying if you are into your sandbox games and you happen to have not managed to pick up the Fallout or Skyrim. If you don't own Fallout New Vegas and you don't own Skyrim, this is a good pack. If you own those games, however, or you own just one of those games, I would say not to bother with this one. I thought I'd put it in here because I know I'm going to get some comments on it if I don't include it. Okay. Another one that I wasn't 100% sure if I should include or not, but I'm going to mention it anyway, and that is the THQ Collection. The reason I'm a bit iffy on this one is a few of the games are pretty old, and a couple of the others are often on special offer deals. Fans of Metro 2033, okay, it's available, but it's also been on the Steam sale very, very cheaply. I don't remember the exact price, but I think it's no more than a couple of pounds, maybe £3 at most. It does have Darksiders, which Darksiders 1 is pretty cool, actually. I have actually been doing a Let's Play of that, but for reasons beyond my control, i.e. a hard drive dying, I've lost some of the saves. I'm trying my best to recover because I've got a few Let's Plays I'm trying to go through, but the saves are really messed up, and I have some backups, but I haven't really had time to really recover the data. But anyway, Company of Heroes is a little bit old now. Dawn of War Retribution is not bad. Nexus, or however the heck you pronounce that, I'm not 100% sure, is good for an arena type of shooting, which is pretty good. So fans of the Quake genre, for example, or Unreal Tournament will probably be quite happy with this one. But that's fairly cheap by itself, and it actually is fairly often on deals as well. Saints Row the Third is actually pretty cheap when it's actually on sale. However, at the moment it's not for me. So, oh, and also Warhammer Space Marine. I've also mentioned my love for this game a few times. So, once again, this is a case of the pack is actually pretty good value for money, but my issues are a lot of the really big games in the pack have often been on sale, so there's a very good chance that a lot of you have picked up the really, big hitters from it. If you haven't, then it's not a bad deal, but, I just feel it'd be a disservice if I didn't mention it to you guys. Considering the relatively massive success of Amnesia, I'm actually fairly surprised that Penumbra wasn't better known. However, this is your time to remedy that. There is a Penumbra pack, which is very similar to Amnesia, and made by pretty much the same creators, actually. 75% off, $3.99. I would actually recommend this one quite a bit. It is a little bit old, it's a few years now, but still, it's a very good price, worth checking out, and I would recommend them for fans of the less happy genre, the more terrifying genre, shall I call it. So, definitely not a bad deal at all, really. So, go ahead and pick it up if you've not already. At the very least, pick on one of them. So, go ahead and have a look at that. Another pretty good deal is the Ubisoft Collection. Once again, problem is that a lot of you might already own these games, but still, it's $29.99, which is 50% off, which basically means you get Assassin's Creed Revelations. I have seen it cheaper than that, however, Assassin's Creed, I mean. There is Driver San Francisco, which is currently 75% off, which makes it £5. And there was also Rayman Origins, which is $9.99, that's 50% off. I believe it was a little bit cheaper than that at one point, but I can't 100% remember. Rayman Origins, however, is a very good game, and of course you've got Assassin's Creed in there. Those two alone might be worth it, but the real big guns in this are, of course, Assassin's Creed. Oh, and there's also Splinter Cell Conviction, which is very good. Problem is, once again, most of you are probably going to already own Assassin's Creed Revelations, which means the packs are really floundering on the rest of them. Conviction is a very good game, but it's certainly, on sale often enough by itself. And as for Driver San Francisco, you can get that pretty cheap generally on sale. And, well, Rayman Origins, it's not bad. Once again, it's a case of one or two of the games is really good. From Dust is not terrible either, by the way. It maybe wasn't received as well as maybe they'd hoped it would have been, but it's certainly not bad. However, by itself, it has been on sale a lot cheaper than that, I believe. in one set. It might have been the previous one. I saw it for 75% off or something ridiculous like that. But either way, not a bad pack. But I think the major reason that I'd recommend it is Assassin's Creed Revelations if you've not already picked it up. So if you already have, then it becomes an okay pack, but probably not worth the money. Okay, now we're going to talk about a couple of single games that aren't part of a pack, but still they're very good deals. The first is The Witcher Enhanced Edition. Now this is currently 40% off, which is £4.19. Bear in mind this was just, I think £1.75 or £1.74 or something ridiculous just a day or two ago, which is insane. But even so, for £4 for such a massive game, it's a very good deal. You might want to wait on this one until literally just before the sale ends to see if it goes back on sale at this price. It's a very good deal, however, for such a long game, and I'd recommend trying this one out before you get Witcher 2, because obviously the storyline flows into one another. And moving on as well is Crisis Maximum Edition. This gives you Crisis and Crisis Warhead together for £4.49. Once again, this has been slightly cheaper than this, but even so, it's still a very good deal for the money, so it's definitely worth considering. Another game, which is pretty damn good on its own anyway, minus 50% is Shank 2. This is $3.99. I did cover this in a First Impressions review. Pretty damn good. It could be slightly cheaper, but I'd still recommend it anyway. It's a pretty damn good pickup. Haven't seen it cheaper than this actually. So you're probably not going to see it cheaper unless Steam really suddenly pull their finger out and add it into a deal. So not bad. You can also pick up Shank 1 for the same price. You're probably going to want to keep with Shank 2 though, I understand it's a lot better game. So go ahead and go for that. Relatively good deal is actually Hard Reset. It's 75% off for £2.50. It's actually relatively recent release. It does have its critics, but it's not a bad game. It looks very pretty and kind of an old school shooting game. So if you're looking for a quick first person shooter, definitely worth checking out. There is also a few other small deals I'm going to quickly mention, just because really. One of them is actually Rift, which is fairly cheap, so if you're into your MMOs, it's a relatively good opportunity to get it. It's only £6.79. Obviously, however, there is the monthly subscription with that one. So whether you want to cough up that one, I will leave down to you, of course. And there is also Hard Reset, which is £2.50, which is a pretty damn good deal, shall I say, considering the games are relatively new, and it's very much into the first-person shooting. Very old school kind of look. Now, there are a few other good deals that I could mention, such as, let's say, the Valve Collection. But the problem is, so many people are going to own this by now, it's not really even worth mentioning it, as so many people are going to own like the Half-Lives and so on. And the same thing could be said for some of the other collections. Something like the Star Wars Collection is not terribly bad or anything. The games are, in some cases, very good. But the problem is that a lot of them are so old that you might even have problems running some of them on Windows 7. I'm not 100% sure, but Dark Forces, for example, is a classic. Knights of the Republic is in there, but the problem is, I think most of you are going to own that because that thing is on sale pretty much every single time that they can, and it's usually really cheap. There are a few others, such as TwoK Collection. This is actually pretty good. It actually contains the Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion and Trinity as well, and it also has Demigod and Galactic Civilizations. The most reason you want to get this one is Sins of a Solar Empire, because right now it's actually £25. It was on cheaper sale, I believe it was £19.99, but even so, for £28.98 you actually basically get this and Sins of a Solar Empire Trinity. And you also get Demigod, which isn't terrible or anything like that. It's not a bad game. It didn't score quite as well, and wasn't received quite as well as maybe they'd hoped. So not bad or anything. And there's also Galactic Civilizations 2 in there as well. Everything else, though, you're kind of not doing terribly, but a lot of the deals are kind of average. So not bad at all. But I think there's better deals out there. So there's just 2 days left. There's today's deals and tomorrow's deals. I'll of course cover those in videos today and tomorrow. So without a question, you'll have a pretty good Steam sale. Hopefully you guys have found this video useful. Once again, I can't have covered every single video, and obviously some of you are not going to like some of the packs because maybe you own some of the games or whatever. But regardless, I've covered pretty much everything I can do. So, with everything said, hopefully you guys have found this at least helpful. Maybe you found one gem in there, if nothing else. So, bye for now, guys, and take care of yourselves. And remember to head on over to our website and subscribe. That is RedGamingTech.com. And, of course, if you can just subscribe, that would also be very appreciated. Bye for now.